Guys, welcome back to HPL. We saw superjj come up to a 1-0 lead over Jab with a pre-stack, something that Jab might not have expected. Jab took Tempo Mage in and kind of puttered out there in the middle of the game. You know what? superjj punished him for it.
Yeah, that's something you very commonly see from Priest. If they can get control of the board, they're absolutely in dominant positions when it rolls into that late game. The key is whether or not they can get control in the early game. So, I mean, Jab had a fantastic start.
Absolutely.
He got a Dragon Consort off of an unstable portal, was able to coin it out on turn 3 even. He drew Azure Drake at some point in the game, a little bit later than he wanted to. But guys, game 2 is getting underway right now. superjj versus Jab.
Guys, don't forget, get on Twitter, use that hashtag HPL. Let us know what you think of this matchup. And you know what? We're seeing these guys going back to a little bit of we're seeing JJ go back to a little bit of bread and butter with Rogue here. It looks like Jab is queued up Druid.
Yeah, Jab really likes the mid-range strategies, and so it's not surprising to see him play something aggressive that will also have some mid-range capacity with something like Tempo Mage, but I think Druid is a little bit more up his alley. Now, superjj, just like you said, gone back to something that he knows very well, which is Rogue. And Rogue, you know, I've spoken with Purple a lot about this. He thinks that this is a terrible matchup as far as the Druid's perspective is concerned. And frankly, I would have to agree with him. I think that Druid, the way that it tries to get the game rolling right now, a well-timed sap can throw the entire game off, as well as big Blade Flurries being able to completely turn the game around with massive damage and massive minion kills.
Yeah, you said it. Sap is one of the most important and just impactful cards in this matchup. Now, Rogue, what is it trying to do in these games? It's trying to get a minion on the board early and establish board control. So it wants to develop its own board while stifling your board control, development with some cheap and interactive spells, and then it's going to kill you with a huge damage turn with Sharp Sword Oil or like a huge Blade Flurry, something like that. So look for JJ to look for that. Now what Jab's going to be trying to do is get a lot of sticky minions to the board as quickly as possible.
Yeah, but Harrison Jones, that was in his Mage deck as well, and it's in his Druid deck. And this hand, I have to say, is looking fantastic for Jab at the moment. He's got potentially a turn 4 Dr. Boom, that's one of the nightmare minions for Rogue. It's one of those ones that you just never want to sap that. It's terrible to sap. So the fact that he can get that on the board so early could spell a very big bad news for superjj here.
So what class is that not a nightmare for, the turn 4 Dr. Boom?
The class that can go turn 3 Dr. Boom, I suppose. Maybe if you have like a big game hunter to check it or something like that, but that's going to be Dr. Boom. I mean, very easy decision as far as he's concerned. Piloted Shredder going to help check this a little bit. He's even got Phantom Knives maybe to clear up some of these boom bots, but at this point, I gotta believe that he just has to make sure that he uses everything he can just to take care of this Dr. Boom. He has the tools to do it though. Piloted Shredder, 7 power because of that Tinker Sharp Sword Oil. And unstable goal. He doesn't even have to use the Phantom Knives if he doesn't want to.
A little grin out of superjj there. Very fortunate on his Piloted Shredder minion spawn there. Now it's gonna be interesting to see how what he does for the rest of the game here. I mean, what he's gonna do for the rest of the turn here. I was wondering if he was just gonna let his minion take care of these boom bots, but he's gonna Phantom Knives and draw a card. And you know what? I think he's okay with both of those going.
Yeah,
into his space.
I think he's happy with both of those going into space right now. Keeping a minion on the board is a little bit important. The fact that this is a taunt could put a little bit of pressure on Jab's side. It's going to get in some damage. Harrison Jones, of course, though, taking out that 4-point dagger, making sure that he picks up some more options here. Not something that's immediately dealt with. Now, he did pick up a backstab. That's a very good draw at this point. Couple that with Azure Drake. Very easy to kill this Harrison Jones, but it's a matter of how he wants to proceed with this.
Yeah, he doesn't even actually need the extra spell damage from the Azure Drake to kill it here.
Death Rattle.
Yeah, because of Death Rattle here. So I think we're going to see him develop his board and his dagger this turn with, I would say I like this play a little bit more with Arthurian Farseer and his dagger, because honestly with Rogue, you just want to be daggering almost every turn. You want to make sure that you have a fully charged up dagger for your Blade Flurries and your Tinker Sharp Sword Oils. I know he's already used one and your deadly poisons. You want to make sure that you get as maximum value out of those as you can.
Yeah, knowing when to put a dagger up, I think, is a very key point of Rogue, and the fact that he has so many games practiced on it, I think he knows exactly what his game plan is.
I can't tell you how many times that I've been playing with Rogue, and on turn 2, I just like haven't attacked with my dagger, and then on turn 8, I'm like, man, I should have attacked on turn 2 with my dagger, and I would have won this game. But now I can't win.
Yeah.
It's so interesting. It's such a weird thing because there's no other class like that.
Yeah, it's really tough to know exactly how to balance all of your resources with Rogue, and I think that's part of what makes it such a popular class among a lot of the top-level professionals, is because they're putting in so much practice. They know exactly when to do things and why they're doing them and how to do them, and everything's coming into effect here. And in this matchup, Rogue is really looking, I think, to get a big swing turn at some point, whether that's just grinding your opponent out of the game and then having a sprint, or by having a big Blade Flurry, or just by, you know, powering out Azure Drakes and having super efficient removal for what your opponents are doing.
Now, we see something cool out of Super JJ's deck here. He's got a Kazon Mystic. And you know what? I love that he has a Kazon Mystic in his deck, especially against Jab, because you saw Tempo Mage game 1 against Jab, and you know that he's known for Hunter with Mad Scientist and Secrets. So I would expect to see Secrets almost every game of match against Jab. I would have Kazon Mystics in almost all my decks.
I think it is an excellent choice too. Actually, in Dog in the interview yesterday, he said he preferred Kazon Mystics as something like South Sea Deckhand to trigger traps from their opponents, because not only do you get that swing of being able to steal it, but he thought that the 4-3 body was more valuable than having the 2-1 body in the matchups where the effect didn't come into play as much. So you're seeing that in the Complexity team. Both of them are taking that exact same style.
I see Jab actually take a little bit of board control here. He used the Keeper of the Grove in his hero power to clear out Super JJ's minion, and he developed a Shade of Nexaramas. One of the Phantom Knives is already gone, so he doesn't have to worry about that, hopefully, to kill a Shade here. Let it grow a couple turns, and it'll be out of range of all those things.
Yeah, so Azure Drake's at this point starting to become a little bit more powerful. I don't think he's very happy to use an Eviscerate on the Keeper of the Grove, but again, keeping the board in check and making sure that your opponent isn't getting you down to that 14 health spot is very important.
Yeah, it's very important, and it helps keep a minion around. If he can keep an Azure Drake for an entire turn, that is a very scary proposition for a Rogue deck.
Yeah, so I mean, I gotta believe he's tempted to either, you know, take some blowback here and clear this out with his Shade, or even use that second Druid of the Claw he just drew to maybe charge this Azure Drake, because it is so scary. I mean, a Blade Flurry is a dangerous proposition as it is, but when you have it something like Azure Drake, it has the potential to really kill everything that you put on the board.
Yeah, it's just a scary proposition to leave any minion on the board
with Rogue
for the
at any
Rogue.
time.
But I mean, Azure Drake might be the biggest nightmare. Yeah, so you see, yeah, Jab's going to take his time here because this turn is very difficult.
Yeah, I like actually leveraging his life total here. Shade, I don't think is spectacular in this matchup unless it's very early on in the game. So the fact that he's leveraging his life total, he knows that Super JJ is kind of focusing on getting the board development going and not so much for just pushing for crazy damage numbers. That this is one of the times where he can take that blowback, leverage that life total in, and try to gain an edge that way. This not only saves that Druid of the Claw, which is going to give him more options later on, but it makes sure that he's making use of all of his resources very efficiently.
Yeah, I mean, because he does have a card in his hand that's probably not going to be very good in this game. He has a big game hunter, and it's usually not a very good minion against the Rogue deck. You can go through entire matches against them and not see an actual target out of them, except for maybe a giant Van Cleave. And you know what? We see a little bit of tempo out of Super JJ here, trying to get board initiative back and push for a little damage.
Yeah, the fact that Jab just took that damage too is a sign to Super JJ that maybe now's the time to push. If he puts Jab on that back foot, there's a very good chance that he can actually just end this game with a couple of damage draws.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if he does use the other Druid of the Claw this turn and comes out charging, because as we said, leaving this Azure Drake in play when you're at 16 is very scary. There are a lot of cards that can actually just kill you over the next turn if you leave this Azure Drake in play. And it looks like he's going to actually do that. Yeah, I think you just have to get this Azure Drake out. And I really like developing the other one that's got Taunt, because you know what? His life total is getting low, but he can get Super JJ down just a few more points over the next turn. He can kill him with a combo.
Yeah, Blade Flurry, a pretty excellent draw here. You actually saw Jab push with that Shade of Nexaramas, and I love this play here because the way that Super JJ is played, it kind of signals that he has something like Blade Flurry. Now, he didn't have Blade Flurry, and that was kind of the side effect of this. You know, he was able to kill the Shade even despite the fact that he hadn't drawn it. But when he draws it, it's just kind of bread and butter at this point because he's got the Eviscerate to finish off this Druid of the Claw and then continue to get his board development and try to push for those positions that are going to yield favorable spots for him.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting to see two really good pro players go at each other like that, because you see a lot of bluffing and posturing going back and forth, because the way that Super JJ played, it made Jab believe that he could kill him over the next turn when actually he couldn't, but it made Jab make some different plays that he would have normally made if he got a different read from his hand.
Yeah, very strong from both these players here. And now at 13 life, you know, Jab I don't think is very comfortable with this board position, but there's not a way to check this Keys and Mystic unless he wants to use that Force of Nature. But that's what the turn he's looking for with the Force of Nature is the damage push. He doesn't want to have to use this as a removal effect. So we're just going to draw his cards here. Second Force of Nature is, you know, it's okay. The swipe is okay, but this is really a dangerous spot. I mean, a Tinker Sharpsword Roll could be disastrous here.
And that's the exact top deck for JJ here. Wow, that was an insane top deck here. Does he have lethal if he?
He doesn't have lethal this turn, but like the big key here is that Tinker Sharpsword Oil is going to give him the ability to find spots to push for this. So the sprint happens, Oh my gosh,
He drew
and
the
even second Blade Flurry. So
and a Deadly Poison.
Yeah, SI7 agent on this big game hunter. He's safe from Force Nature Savage Roar right now. It would only be 21 damage, and he's sitting at 25. Everything is on Jab right now to have to answer this board. He's got the tools to do it, but he also needs to find himself a favorable position, and very soon.
Yeah, you're going to see him probably swipe and trade this turn, or just use a Force of Nature to clear out some minions here. He has to take care of this board, or he has to believe that he's dead next turn if he doesn't take care of this board.
Oh,
as well.
yeah, I mean, you can't. I mean, your opponent has sprinted twice at this point. They have a ton of cards in their hand. They've used 2 saps. They haven't dedicated a lot of damage spells just to killing minions. He's basically, at this point, he's out 1 Deadly Poison. He's out a Tinker Sharp Sword Oil, and he's out an Eviscerate.
Yeah, we actually know that he has the other Sharp Sword Oil and the other Blade Flurry in his hand, so we know there's going to be a huge turn from Super JJ next turn. So Jab really needs to take care of this board this turn right now.
You know what? I actually think that, you know, kind of looking at this hand, he's got Dagger up, he's got Deadly Poison, he's got Sharp Sword Oil, and he's got Blade Flurry to go with it. So no way to gain life is really what's going to spell the end here. Jab doing what he can, but it's just not going to be enough. Super JJ has the damage to kill him this turn, and this all comes down to that one very pivotal turn where Jab chose to use his life total, taking that blowback to clear out a minion instead of using the cards in his hand, and that extra damage gave Super JJ the hint, I'm going to push right now, and it paid off for him.
Yeah, you're going to see Super JJ make a gigantic Dagger here attack, and then you know what? Blade Flurry for the win. We talked about this huge damage spikes at the end game. Saw a huge combo coming out of Super JJ here. Jab is down 0-2 in this match already. Super JJ strutting his stuff here early in HPL. It's going to be very interesting to see if Jab takes out Hunter here and brings it in for the 3rd game. I have to believe he's going to Hunter.
Yeah, when you're down 2 games like this, you got to think maybe you're kind of going away from the grain. What you normally do, I really would like to see him play with Hunter. Again, you just got #1 with it. Abuse that strategy. The fact that he's been kind of branching out and going the other way, it's really showing you what both of these guys think of their opponents in these games. They're trying to catch them off guard. They're trying to queue up strategies. They're going to try to pick what they think their opponent's going to do. So far, Super JJ's getting the better of that.
Yeah, Super JJ looks like he's firing all cylinders so far, so we're going to have to see what Jab does here for Game 3, which we're going to have in just a moment, guys. We're going to be right back for Game 3 between Super JJ and Jab. They're changing up their decks right now. They're making their final